Alright. We are back once again. Just got done with part one of this video, or part one of the storytelling. And I decided to do it, not wait, not leave anybody in suspense, for part two of what's happened to me in the last 2 years. My name is Donald. Most people call me Fat Redneck. This is my channel, Living Life Outdoors. I do a lot of stuff outdoors, fishing, hunting. For the people that don't know, I fish, hunt, barbecue. I've always been an outdoor person. So, in the first video, first part, talked about how I had a life-threatening incident of septic pneumonia. Well, in this one, we're going to talk about, and in the first part, I'll tell y'all where I live. I don't mind telling y'all because it goes into this part. And I told y'all in the first video that a buddy of mine, childhood friend I still have to this day, he comes and he plays a big role in this next part. He's a former army veteran, been overseas, seen some stuff. Me and him have been like this, but he helped me through this. So, just recap. I said, had septic pneumonia, fought it, fighting for a certain reason, as my last video said. Well, this one, excuse me, is a different type of video. So everybody knows by now that FSU had the school shooting April 17th of last year, 2025. Now, in my last video, you hear me talk about a truck that I didn't care about. Which I cared about it, but there was other reasons I was fighting for my life. Well, April 16th of last year, my truck got repossessed. Because I'd been in the hospital, got behind on payments. It happened, fighting for my life. And finance company said they would work with me, but they were lying to me. So I started back after January when I relapsed. I started back doing little runs here and there for clients. Like I said in my last video, I've worked Uber before, and I've built up a little bit of a clientele, just local people that rather just use me because I had a big truck and more leg room, stuff like that, instead of cramming into a little Tesla. So I'm trying to get my truck paid off, whatever. Trying to get caught up with bills, because not only did me being in the hospital get my truck behind, because I say my truck, but it's actually our truck, me and my family's truck. My dad's truck is on the fritz, and so we decided to use my credit. I'd build it up enough to get another truck, and so I'm trying to get it back paid down. And I guess it's a blessing that my truck got repossessed, because FSU had the school shooting, and this is where it hits a little bit more home for me. My truck got repossessed, didn't know it got repossessed. I woke up to go run to the store, and my truck was gone. This is April 16th. My birthday's April 19th. Hell of a birthday present, right? Didn't know where the truck was. And it was actually a bad repossession, because Florida law, repossession agents, which he lied about not being able to get into the bed of the truck, but he was able to gain access to the cab of the truck to inventory stuff. But he removed my firearm from the truck, which is illegal in the state of Florida. He unloaded it, put it in his own safe. So technically he was in he stole my firearm under what Florida law says, from what I researched. So that's why the finance company they don't care about the daggone what was owed and all that, because I proved that it was a bad repo. But as neither here or there. Got with another Ford company, got me another truck. So better truck, less payments. I went from an XLT to a Platinum, and a year newer. So anyway, back to the story. Got up April 16th. Our truck was gone, trying to find out where it was. Found out where it was. Got all my stuff out of the truck and gave him the keys. The hell with it, right? Well, like I said, I've been doing stuff for my clients, driving around from grocery stores and stuff like that. And one guy got my number from one of my clients. He was a buddy of his. He called me to pick him up called me to set up a day to pick him up from the airport, because him and his son was coming in to the campus to tour the campus. Or something, I don't know. It was an orientation, something, I can't remember. I don't know if the kid was trying to switch colleges or what, but this gentleman and his son had got my number from one of my clients. So I said, yeah, I'll pick you up at the airport, take you, and, whatever. We had it all squared away and everything. I was supposed to pick him up on April 17th. The day my truck got repossessed, he called me and said, hey, we're going to come in next week. Will you be available to pick us up the following week? I said, well, I don't know. My truck got repossessed today. Trying to find out where it's at, blah, blah, blah. He said, okay, no big deal. If you can't, we'll find another way. I said, cool. Even if not, I said, my dad's truck was running at the time. I said, my dad's truck's running, but it doesn't have AC. It's hot. He said, where you're going to the student union ain't that far from the airport, ain't that far from my house. So if you could deal with the heat, I'll do it still. But anyway, and then this is the 16th of April, 2025. Get up, April 17th. I woke up. I slept in. The truck got repossessed. I was mad. I livid, whatever. Got up April 17th. I seen that the school shooting happened. And went, holy hell. Didn't know where it happened at the time because they weren't releasing a lot of details. And this is where I say it was a blessing my truck got repossessed. When I found out that it was the student union, and that's where that was the closest place I was able to get that gentleman and his son to right around the student union to get them to where they needed to go. I knew exactly how to get there. And he texted me. He said, you see that there's a shooting at FSU? I said, yeah. And then he texted me. He found out, because I was doing some stuff, he found out that it was at the student union, because I went with my dad to go get some groceries or something. Nope, take that back. It was going to pay internet bill and cell phone bill. Verizon and Xfinity, whatever. So this guy texted me, he said, the shooting happened at the student union. And of course my heart sank. He's like, and I was supposed to be dropping him off at like 10:30, 10:50, and I think the FSU shooting happened at like 11, something like that. It was in that time frame. We were supposed to be there when it happened. And this man called me. I'm not gonna give him his name out. His son was worried. He said, we would have been there. I said, yeah, we would have. He said, but your truck got repossessed. I said, well, your flight got canceled. I had to get changed. Because there was last year there was a lot of stuff for the airlines, whatever. Flights getting canceled, changed, layovers, and all that. I even forget where the guy was coming from. It was up north somewhere. But I'm like, wow. I'm not taking nothing away from what happened at the school. I'm going, because I'm still trying to process. I see it on the news. I'm trying to process. My ass is supposed to be there when this happened. And me and him was talking on the phone. He's like, we were all three supposed to be there. I said, you're right. Because I wasn't even thinking at the time that I would have two other lives in the truck with me that I was responsible for. And he's like, what would have happened if I said, if we'd have went, and this is the protector in me, I said, and if I'd have seen it happen, I said, I would have probably gave you and your son my truck, and I'd have took the fight to the shooter. Even though technically I've been on school grounds with a gun, but I'm only on school grounds for a short minute. I mean, literally, where I'd have dropped him off at, and the main road was 100 yards, something like that. I said, or I'd have ran the guy over in my truck. He said, you would have done that? I said, yeah, I'd have gave you my truck and let you start evacuating people, tell them to get in the bed, whatever, get people out of the way. I said, I'd have dealt with the cops. When they showed up, they probably would have shot me too, but I'd have took the fight to the shooter. And I'm not saying that to say a hero. That's just my mentality. That's my. I don't run from stuff. I run towards it. Probably a bad trait. But that goes back to my granddad was in the Air Force. My uncle was a Marine. His brother was Army. So, needless to say, I didn't go into the military, but yeah, I've been around it. I've been around guns all my life. I got training, but it's just I was bred to be the protector. I was raised to be the protector. And when I told my dad that I was talking to the guy that I was supposed to be there at the shooting, I was going to be on campus at the exact time. I know I'm stumbling because it's bringing up bad memories. I stopped driving. I didn't drive nowhere. I let my dad do the driving. I had to push clients off to a buddy that does Uber. I said, hey, he'll help you. I said, I can't drive right now. They're like, why not? I said, I just can't. Because knowing that me and this gentleman, his son, was supposed to be there, and everything that happened, it hit me hard. And I guess it hit me harder than what I thought it was going to hit me. I mean, I felt sorry for everybody that got injured and everything like that. I was praying for everybody. The two victims that didn't make it, and all the other victims that were wounded. I was feeling sorry for everybody, sorry for myself, but then where people have PTSD from trauma, even though I wasn't physically there, but I was supposed to be, and it was just act of God. My truck got repossessed because I had the medical issue 5 months prior, and this gentleman's flight getting canceled. We weren't there. But if I was, I would have took the fight, like I said, to the shooter, dealt with the cops, responding cops. Accordingly, they probably would have shot me too. Not going to take nothing away from them doing their job. So that goes back to what I said. My buddy that's Army vet, he dealt with survivor's guilt. He said, I just couldn't get past it. I couldn't talk. I didn't talk to my family. Didn't talk to my fiance still at the time. He messaged me a couple times like, bud, what's going on with you? Now this is a guy that was Army vet, seen shit. Now he's dealing with a autoimmune system disease. I forgot what it's called. He's having to have blood transfusions every so often. He's like, man, what's going on? You ain't messaging me. You ain't playing the game. Xbox together, whatever. He's like, what's going on? I said, dude, and this is a couple weeks after everything had settled down and with the shooting, found out who it was and all that stuff. And then, of course, me and him went to school together, and to find out that the active shooter at the school, his mom was a resource officer at the middle school me and my buddy went to years later. But it's like full circle. Wow. Now I'm thinking, I feel sorry for her. A school that this kid went to, probably, she's a resource officer there, or this guy went to, and I went to the school, and she's a resource officer at the school that I went to, school that my buddy went to. He's like, dude, you're having survivor's guilt. I said, well, how do you get over it? He said, you don't. You try to bury it. You talk about it. You eventually realize that God played a role in it. I said, but what would I have done? And even though I told the guy that I was supposed to pick up the day we were talking about it, the day of the shooting, what I would have done, I told my buddy, I asked my buddy, I said, what would I have done if I was there? He's like, I know you, dude. You took the fight to the guy and dealt with the repercussions of you being on campus with a gun, blah, blah, blah. Even if officers would have shot you, you wouldn't have cared. You would have tried to save as many people as you could. If you'd had your truck and everything went to plan like it was supposed to, you would have took the fight to the guy, got the guy and his son out of harm's way, ran the dude over with the truck. And like I said, I'm not saying this to be a hero or anything like that. He said, I just know your mentality. The type of person you are, how you were raised, how me and you both were raised. He said, technically and truthfully, buddy, we've been boys since 12 years old. You've been around guns more than I have, even though I was in the military. You got better training than I do, because you shoot all the daggone time. He said, more than likely, even my military training, I probably would have ran, and you would have took the fight to the person. And it hit me like my buddy, who's an Army veteran, who is telling me that I'm more, I don't want to say courageous, term for, I can't even find the word for it. Not really courageous, but more willing to take the fight to something like that, or stand up, and he's willing to run. And I'm not saying that to down him, by no means. But in the moment, as a civilian, who's to know what's going to happen? He knew what he was getting into in the military. He knew what his job was and stuff like that. But as a civilian, it's like, what do I do when that happens? And that's where he's like, you've had different training than I have. I haven't had active shooter training, but you, as a civilian, know, okay, you have the right to defend yourself, defend somebody else if somebody else is being harmed. Where in the military, my job was just to go get the bad guys, He's like, you shoot better than me anyway. But anyway, come to find out, the sheriff's deputy, who was the resource officer, was at the school that me and my buddy went to. That hurt. I was like, dude, she was a resource officer at the school we went to. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah. I mean, it's like full circle, And then it really came full circle a few months later, after I started feeling a little bit better about the situation, going, okay, I didn't get into a shootout with the cops, which I don't mean to say a shootout with the cops. I didn't get shot by the cops. I didn't get into a shootout with a shooter. Didn't have to run him over with a truck. The situation was contained. Yes, 2 victims happened, and I feel sorry for that, and I wish I could have done something to prevent that. Everybody does. All the other victims that got hit, I'm a big advocate for, if you got the training and all that, let people carry on campus. There's an old saying, the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is with a good guy with a gun. And I'm not saying that to defend the actions of the person that did the shooting, because he was wrong. I feel sorry for his mom and his family because he put him in a bad situation. And he put himself in a bad situation. But the FSU officer that actually took the fight to him, I went to school with him as well. I'm not going to say his name on here. But when I seen the body cam footage, him rolling up on his motorcycle, and I went, holy hell. Not only did I go to school, at the school that the deputy sheriff, the shooter's mom, is a resource officer at, now the officer that is engaging him, I went to school with him at another school, like a second chance school to get put back in your right grade. I went, holy hell. So it kind of hit me then again, like another acquaintance. I mean, he's not really a buddy of mine, but I know him. Like the officer, it's just a small world that, you know, an officer that's involved shooting, I went to school with. I haven't talked to him in almost 20 years. And truth be told, he was a wild dude in school. The officer never thought he would have been an officer. Never. He didn't like police. He was a party goer. Not saying that's a bad thing, because me and him back then and a couple other friends, we hang around in the same crowd. We were all mischief. Me and that officers back when we were younger. We had about the same group of friends, knew each other. And we had class together and stuff like that, but it's just weird that how life is. And I said it in my last video, you know, life is short. You could be here one day, not the next. Somebody you ain't seen in 20 years can pop up doing an act of heroicy, stopping an active shooter. But, you know, I know people that deal with PTSD, and my uncle, who was a Marine, went to Vietnam at 15. Long story there, but, you know, 93 people in his platoon went over and only 13 people came back. His best friend got killed next to him. So it's like life is just so short, and then things can come back full circle, you know. I was supposed to be there. Luckily, I wasn't. I didn't have to deal with the responding officers. And looking back, the fact that where it happened at, knowing I would have took the fight to the guy that was doing the shooting. I'm not saying I'm being a hero or anything like that. Just my mentality. Then when I seen the body cam footage come out of the actual officer that engaged the threat, that would have been my old buddy that I went to school with. If I would have been there taking the fight to that threat, he would have probably been engaging me because I was shooting that guy, thinking I was a bad guy. So I'm like, it's full circle once again. So my buddy, who's Army vet, I told him that. He's like, dude, this world's getting smaller and smaller. It doesn't seem like it, but he's like, that would have been a hell of a damn thing. You know, with your mentality, you took the fight to the guy, you gave the guy and the son your truck to evac people out, and then to turn around to get hit by a buddy that you went to school with. I'm like, yeah, tell me about it, you know. It's just weird. And like I said, I'm not making light of what happened. I feel sorry for everybody that went through what they went through. The victims that didn't make it, the victims that got hit. I don't feel sorry for the shooter. I feel sorry for his family. I feel sorry for the officer that had to do what he had to do that day that I know. And I'm sitting here going, I feel sorry for myself because I wasn't there. It's like I'm feeling sorry for myself for not being there. And my buddy's just telling me, you're having survivor's guilt, buddy. I mean, there's no other way to put it. You're having survivor's guilt. But I'm like, why should I have survivor's guilt when I wasn't there? I didn't survive. He said, but technically you did. I said, how do you figure that? He said, because you were supposed to be there. And it was just a random act that your truck got taken, the guy's flight got canceled, and you didn't show up. Because he said if everything would have went true to form and you would have picked the gentleman and his son up at the airport, which is, a mile from my house, took him to the campus at the exact, they had to be there at, I think, 11. I was dropping them off at 10:45, something like that. I gave myself about 15-minute leeway. He said you'd have been either in the shooting, right before the shooting, so you've been dropping off as the shooting happened, and then your fighter mentality would have kicked in and you'd have took the fight to the shooter. And I'm not saying that, again, to be a hero on anything. And so I've dealt with, these two incidences that happened 5 months apart, life-threatening incident that damn near killed me, and then a shooting incident that literally happened a mile from my house, because I live exactly 1.5 miles from, or less than 1.5 miles from the student union. So the airport to the student union is only 3.5 miles, 4 miles maybe. It's just funny. I say it's funny, but it's not really funny. It's just how one thing can lead to the next. 1 minute you're fighting for your life in the hospital with septic pneumonia. 5 months later, just by a random act of God, and I give God the credit for saving the victims that He saved, and I want to say saving my ass and the gentleman and his son by having my truck repossessed, because He allowed me to live when I had the septic pneumonia. But 5 months apart, two incidences that one should have killed me, one probably would have killed me, and I'm thankful every day that I wasn't on campus. But as my buddy said, he's like, but you're still gonna beat yourself up because you would have done what needed to be done. And I'm like, dude, but I'm not a hero. I said, that's you. You fought for us, you fought for our rights and stuff like that. He said, but still, you're the type of dude that's gonna take the fight. You don't like to see old people hurt, you don't like to see women abused. You're just that type of guy. He said, I went in the military and that was my job. So I went overseas, did what I needed to do. And he's like, you got more training than I do, and I know you. We've been boys since, 12 years old. I've seen you shoot. We used to have airsoft wars in the yard. I said, and he's like, but he's like, you shoot better than me, even with airsoft. And anybody shoots airsoft, the BB's curve. He said, I've seen you shoot literally around a vehicle with an airsoft gun. I said, well, okay, whatever. But I'm still trying to have a decent conversation. He's trying to make me laugh, and he's like, you get through it. He's like, I'm right here. He said, if you need to, go drive the woods. I said, dude, I don't even want to drive. I don't even want to get in the truck. I don't even want to get behind the wheel, knowing that I was supposed to be there. And I'm not saying that to take anything light off of what happened. And I'm not trying to say that I'm a survivor. But in his eyes, I am a survivor because I was supposed to be there. And a lot of people probably look at me and go, well, you're a dumbass. You're not a survivor. You weren't there. You're making all this crap up. Blah, blah, blah. Well, I know what I was supposed to do. I know I was supposed to, I'm not going to give the gentleman's name or anything on here or any of his information. I still have his number. But, it's one of those things like, how can I go from something that was life-threatening to another life-threatening incident that I was supposed to be in? And the only thing I think of is God was looking out for me. I know they say that when it's your time, it's your time. I guess this is two incidences that the devil was trying to get a hold to me, and God was like, it's not your time. So I give him the glory. No pun intended, not trying to steal from Dear Me from Dinner, which is I'm a big fan of, but to God be the glory. He saved me, saved that gentleman and his son, and the victims that were injured. And I'm not taking it away from them. The two victims that didn't make it, that's where a lot of it, I guess, I feel bad because the student union would have been where I dropped this gentleman off, and one person got killed right at the student union. So I'm thinking to myself that the person that got killed right at the student union, if I was there, I could have took the fight there and ended it to that. I could have took the fight to that shooter and ended it. And I'm not saying that for his mom to see this video and think I'm a hero or anything like that. I'm just trying to say, I'm not saying I could have prevented anything, any other victims from being hit. Not saying I wouldn't have been hit myself. And my buddy keeps saying, dude, you're having survivor's guilt. I'm telling him, I'm like, how do you get over it? He's like, dude, I got survivor guilt every day. I got buddies that make it back from overseas. I'm like, how do you deal with it? He's like, you just gotta remember, there's a reason why you were spared. And I'm like, well, why? You know? And, you know, back to my fiance once again, when this happened, that's all I wanted. All I wanted was her. I wanted to see her walk through the door. Like I said, she's still the love of my life, but I don't think I'll ever see her walk through the door again. We have a connection I can't break, tried, but that's all I'm going to say about it. But that's all I wanted, was her. Just to have that comfortability. Even though I was okay, I didn't get involved in the shooting. Like I said, I didn't have a buddy of mine that I went to school with as an officer putting rounds in me or holes that ain't supposed to be in me because I'm taking a fight to a shooter. But like I said, I'm gonna repeat this again. I'm not saying this to be a badass or a hero or anything like that. I'm just putting my story out there. What was supposed to happen that day for me. Any other day, and I was supposed to be there. If everything would have went true to form, I would have been there. But it goes to show it's not promised tomorrow. And that's what I said in my last video. I didn't care about my truck getting taken and stuff like that. I didn't care about nothing. You're not promised tomorrow. Hell, you're really not promised the next 5 minutes or 2 minutes. So cherish the people that are around you, the ones that love you. Tell them every day that you love them. If you got faith, if you got love in your heart, you believe in the man upstairs, even if you don't go to church every time, give him praise, because there's a reason. All this was created by somebody. But tell the people that you love them, the ones that you really love. Random act of kindness. I don't know, there's a lot of people that you can be kind to and they're still going to be asses to you. But just because they're asses to you doesn't mean you got to be an ass back. But like I said, this is my stories. I wanted to put them out there because I seen the Ryan Shaw podcast, the Shaw Strength podcast. That's a mouthful. With him in Kentucky Blessings, that's why I made the first video. And then I was thinking, well, while I'm making the videos, let me just put this one out as well as a what happened to me, what was about to happen to me, what could have happened to me. And I guess that's also another thing that's playing in my head is the what if scenarios. What if I was there? What would have happened? Would this have happened? Would that have happened? Would my buddy, that's an officer, put holes in me? Would I have been able to save people? More people, a lot less people got hit. Could I stop the threat right there at the student union? Could I got the gentleman and his son out of harm's way, or let them get out of harm's way and load people up in my truck? I didn't care. When everything came out, that's what's always been playing in my head was, what if? And then also thinking, they were coming down for an orientation or whatever. And he probably told his wife, and the kid told his mom, I love you, got on the plane. And then they would not ended up back up there, wherever they were coming from. I think it was in Chicago or something like that. But luckily, like I said, act of God, their flight got canceled for whatever reason. So, like I said, if you're got faith in you're a God-fearing man, woman, believe in him, give him a lot of credit to a lot of things. This world has been going through hell in a handbasket for a while now. I'm not a political person. I don't get into a lot of politics. Who knows why the shooter did what he did, being pissed off, whatever. I mean, I've been bullied and stuff because of my size and my weight. I don't know what makes people think that way, just to go shoot up innocent people. I do believe that we need to advocate for people on school campuses, especially colleges, adults that are in college that had the proper training, and the police department at the school have at least an idea who's concealed carrying, if they got the proper training, so they can, if something like that happens, somebody can stop a threat. And I know it's hard to communicate with law enforcement that, hey, I'm not the bad guy, I'm the good guy, because a lot of them show up, they hear bullets flying, they see somebody in civilian clothing shooting, they don't know if they're the good guy or the bad guy. I know with the FSU shooting, police response was pretty quick from all agencies, especially FSU Police, Leon County Sheriff's, TPD, Tides Police Department. But normally, average police response is 15 minutes. That's what I believe it is, what I hear all the time. So, but those are my stories. I feel a little better getting them out. I've been holding them in for almost 2 years now. Well, a year for the one, 2 years for the other. And yeah, I keep saying in the videos, all I want to do is see my fiance walk back to the door. Maybe that would help a lot as far as getting stuff off my chest. But that ain't never gonna happen. But definitely, if you love somebody, friends, family, your better half, whatever, don't go a day without telling them that you love them. Don't go a day without saying, hey, you look nice, you look beautiful, or joking around with them, making them laugh, brightening up their day, even if they don't want to brighten up their day. Do everything you can to make somebody laugh and smile and feel better about themselves, because they will return the favor. But I wasn't expecting to make the video right after I made the first one, but I thought, what the hell, I'm already here, might as well just go ahead and make it. So, but be kind to everybody. I love y'all. Tell everybody that you love them. Even if they pissed you off recently and you're thinking to yourself, I don't like you right now. You may not like them right now. You probably don't hate them. And I know hate's a strong word, but at least tell them you love them. You may not like them at the moment. Say, hey, I may not like you right now, but I still love you. So, I love y'all. I'll see y'all in the next one. The video's going to be a little bit different. Got some shooting videos coming out soon. It's hot as hell here in Florida right now. Got some other things going on personal wise that is stopping me from making videos. Like I said, I do it for fun. But we're gonna have some more videos coming out. I can find some better filming equipment besides my phone. But like I said, y'all enjoy y'all's weekend. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your loved ones that you love them. You never know. You could be here 1 minute, gone the next. And with that being said, to God be the glory. Sorry, dear me for dinner. I am still in your line. I will see y'all in the next video.